This is the story of Julian and Allison, living in modern elegance high above the city, wrapped in comfort, yet distant in ways they no longer notice. Meet Allison. She loved trends, attention, and anything that made her look perfect, on camera or off. In their apartment, Allison spoke confidently, but Julian's thoughts drifted elsewhere, restless and unfulfilled. Julian stood still, lost in thought, wondering if this was the right moment to tell her how he felt. Beautiful as it was, the apartment felt more like a gilded cage, full of words they never said.
Julian, you've been avoiding it long enough. When are you going to propose? Anyway, it's time to leave. Wear something nice.
Julian and Allison arrived at a high-end restaurant, the city lights reflecting off sleek glass and polished tables. The evening promised romance, but Julian couldn't help noticing Allison's gaze never left her screen.
Allison, can you please put away your phone? I have a surprise for you.
A surprise? Is it a new necklace?
No, it's something you've been asking for.
Oh my god, I can't believe it. Yes.
She grabs the ring, holding it up to catch the light, her excitement nearly overflowing. Allison beams for the camera, eyes glittering with calculation. The next day, Julian took Allison to try on wedding dresses, but while she admired the ring, he was already feeling the weight of his choice. Allison behaved like a diva, expecting everything to be perfect while trying on the dresses. Shop assistants hovered nervously, their smiles forced as Allison barked orders. Julian sits on the velvet chair, looking uncomfortable, his eyes fixed on the floor. After hours of fussing and frustration, they finally stepped out of the shop. Back home, Allison juggled magazines, her laptop and phone calls, while Julian watched nervously, holding 2 coffee mugs. That night, he sat alone, the city lights outside doing nothing to lift his weary mind. The big day had finally arrived, and Julian was getting ready, nerves and anticipation written on his face. Crystal chandeliers glitter in the opulent wedding hall, awaiting the ceremony. Whispers rippled through the elegantly dressed guests, the tension impossible to hide. Julian stood at the altar, looking sharp in his tuxedo, but you could see he was nervous. One of Julian's friends approached, a worried look on his face. "She hasn't arrived yet," he said. Julian ran outside with the box of rings, heart pounding, but Allison never came. He looked back one last time, hope fading, then turned to announce to everyone that the wedding was over. The doors closed, just like a relationship that was never meant to be. Back home, Julian sat in the dark, phone in hand, endlessly scrolling. He froze on the screen. Allison's photos on a bright beach was a cruel mockery of their planned honeymoon. Another man appeared in the frame, his arm casually around Allison's waist. Julian's face froze, eyes wide, stunned and hurt beyond words. The next day, he packed his things, preparing to leave. He walked to his sleek red car, opened the door, tossed his backpack inside, and sat behind the wheel. The car winds through the rough, open landscape, Julian looking like a tiny speck against the endless stretch of white. He left the city behind, its noise and chaos shrinking as he drove away. Julian's car cuts through the snow and finally reaches a small mountain cabin hidden among tall, snow-covered pines. Snow drifts softly, whispering over the winter stillness. A warm light spills from the rustic cabin, a welcoming glow in the snowy wilds. Distant mountains rise, their peaks hidden in snow and mist. In the warm cabin, a fire flickers over blueprints and wooden furniture, so different from Julian's cold city apartment. Here, Julian could finally dive into the projects he'd long put aside, free from the city's noise and pressure. For the first time in weeks, Julian slept soundly, while the winds howled outside. The next day, he set about chopping firewood, something he hadn't done in years. He cooked simple meals, savoring the flavors of fresh, organic produce. Snow falls silently outside the window as Julian watches. Days pass, and he quietly rebuilds his life in solitude. One day, a little fox appeared near the cabin, curious and cautious in the wintry woods. Julian had begun to settle into life at the cabin, unaware that he wasn't alone in the snowy mountains. He noticed the fox and approached it carefully, drawn by curiosity. Julian laughed softly, reaching out to the playful fox as it bounded through the snow. As he stepped closer, the fox darted into the dense trees, leaving only silence and snow behind. Julian started leaving food for his little friend at the edge of the forest. The little fox came back to savor the meal Julian had left for him. But on the other side of the mountain, Gwendolyn had begun to wonder about her fox's little disappearances. One day, Gwendolyn decided to follow the little traces her fox had left behind.
I wonder where he's wandered off to now.
But the little fox was busy enjoying the meat Julian had left in front of his cabin.
Ah, there you are. Made a little friend here? I thought this cabin would be empty this winter. So this is why my little fox comes here every day. He gets free food. Damn, he spotted me. I should leave before he comes out.
Julian noticed Gwendolyn and ran out to meet her, but she had already left. Once the moment passed, Gwendolyn returned to her daily routine, as if nothing had changed. Life returned to its gentle rhythm, filled with tea, treats, and the peaceful presence of her little fox. Spring finally came, waking the riverbank with vibrant greens and soft flowers. Julian stood by the river in his warm coat, the early spring breeze still biting at his cheeks as he cast his line into the sunlit water. The river still wore a fragile skin of ice, appearing calm, but carrying the same dangerous force underneath. While pulling back his fishing rod, Julian lost his footing and fell straight into the frigid river. The merciless current grabs hold of him instantly, dragging him downstream in its relentless grip. The fox freezes as it discovers Julian sprawled on the riverbank. Without hesitation, it bolts through the trees, racing towards Gwendolyn for help. The clever fox hurried to Gwendolyn, showing her the way to Julian lying by the riverbank. She leaned over Julian, hoping the river hadn't taken more than his strength. Gwendolyn didn't know how she'd manage it, but she grabbed his feet and started dragging him home. With great effort, Gwendolyn settled Julian on her small cottage bed, praying he would recover. Slowly, Julian started to wake up. Gwendolyn comes in, holding a warm mug, worry written all over her face. She watches him carefully, offering the warm drink.
Hi, I'm Gwen. Feeling any better? You're lucky my fox found you.
Julian smiled, still weak but grateful, and Gwendolyn led him outside to breathe the fresh air and explore her little corner of the world. Far from the empty bustle of his past, Julian discovered freedom and joy once more. Sometimes love finds you when all you've been searching for is authenticity.